And this one is a card battler, but what makes this one really interesting is that you actually have to forge your cards before you're able to use them. And the cards that you have access to are determined by the faction that you choose to play as at the start of the game. But essentially there's going to be a couple different types of cards. There's going to be the echo cards, which act as victory points, and the first player to get 10 of those forged in front of them first wins the game. But then there are also the faction cards, which can have a variety of effects, but you're mostly going to be using them to attack your opponent and defend yourself in various ways. Players are going to be taking turns performing their actions, but at the start of your turn, you're always going to be drawing 2 special tokens into your pool. And these tokens just go onto your center faction board, but you can use these tokens in order to forge cards from your hand, because for each of the tokens that you have, you'll be able to put one of your cards face down to the right of you, and then assign it one of those tokens to indicate that it has begun to be forged. Each of these cards is going to have a number of turns that are required before it is fully forged, but once a card is forged, you'll be able to put it out in front of you. If it's an echo card, then you just get to put it out in front of you, showing that you have earned that victory point. But if it's a faction card, you can assign it either to the right of you to defend against your forges, or you can assign it to the left of you to defend against your hand. And the reason that that's important is because whenever a player uses any of their available cards in order to attack their opponent, they get to choose whether they want to attack their forge or attack their hand. And if the other player is not able to defend against it, then the active player gets to discard a card from either the forge or their hand, depending on what they attacked. But if that card is an echo card, then instead of discarding it, they actually get to keep it for themselves. But the rounds continue like this, with players gaining these forge tokens, then using them to forge cards from their hand, but any cards that you already do have out from a previous turn are going to have their tokens move around the circle clockwise, and once they've moved the appropriate amount for that card, you'll be able to get that card into your possession. But there is one more thing I want to point out here, because instead of using one of these tokens to forge a new card, you can instead flip it to the other side in order to push one of your existing forged tokens forward 1 space. This is a really excellent way to try and forge one of your cards a lot faster if you are particularly interested in getting that card forged. Not only this, but once you flipped over those tokens, they then become a different type of token, which can be used in order to trigger different actions with certain faction cards that you might have out in play. This creates a really interesting dynamic on how you want to use those tokens, but once you do have your cards out in play, those all become new actions that you can perform on a subsequent turn in order to get different benefits from those cards, or even to attack your opponent. But like I said, the first player who's able to get 10 of those echo cards forged in front of them first wins the game. And if you do want to check this one out, I will have it linked in the description.